Here we have a pre-calculus problem. Okay, let's go to the question. Find the least common multiple, that is the LCM of 12 factorial, 14 factorial and 13 factorial. That is, we have to find the smallest number which is evenly divisible by all these three values, 12 factorial, 14 factorial and 13 factorial. For that, let me use L division, that is 12 factorial, 14 factorial, 13 factorial. I am taking all the given three values in L division. Now what I have to do is I have to get the greatest common divisor of these three values. Here all the three values are factorials, so I have to consider the one which contains the smallest integer. So this that is 12 factorial. This one contains the smallest integer 12. So 12 factorial is the greatest common divisor of all these three values. Okay, let me divide all of them by 12 factorial. When I divide this 12 factorial by this 12 factorial, I'm just getting 1, because 12 factorial divided by 12 factorial is equal to 1. This one will cancel out. Now I have to divide this 14 factorial by this 12 factorial. Okay, let me do it. 14 factorial by 12 factorial. Actually, 14 factorial is equal to the product of all consecutive integers in descending order from 14 to 1. That is, we have to write 14 times, 13 times, 12 times. That is, 14 has to be reduced for the next consecutive integers up to 1. When we expand a factorial like this, if I stop at anywhere in the middle, that is, instead of going up to 1, if I stop somewhere else in the 12, I must take factor over here, so that everyone can understand it continues up to 1. Okay, so here when I expand the 14 factorial, I don't write up to 1, I just stop at the middle. So wherever I stop in the middle, I must take factorial over there, so that it will be understood that it continues up to 1. Here we have a question. Why do we stop particularly at the number 12? Because we have 12 factorial in denominator. That's the reason I stop at 12. So otherwise, even we can, if I want, I can continue for the next few integers like 11, 10. I can stop at 10, I can stop at 9. But I stop at 12. The reason is that we have 12 factorial in denominator. We have over here. Okay, now let me write the 12 factorial in denominator. This 12 factorial and 12 factorial will cancel out, and the resulting value is 14 times 13. Okay, now I'm not going to multiply these two numbers. Let me keep this product as it is. Okay, so when I divide this 14 factorial by 12 factorial, I'm getting the result of 14 times 13. Okay, now we have to divide this 13 factorial by this 12 factorial. Okay, so 13 factorial divided by 12 factorial. So the same thing. So we can expand this 13 factorial as 13 times, 12 times, 11 times, up to 1 we can write. But when I expand this 13 factorial, I stop at 12. So as I said earlier, whenever I stop at the middle, I must take factorial over there. So here I stop at 12, the same reason, because we have 12 factorial in denominator. Let me write the 12 factorial over here. So this 12 factorial cancel out. The result is 13. So let me write this 13 over here. Now I have to check whether there is any greatest common divisor for all these three numbers other than 1. It's not possible, because one of these three values is 1. Okay, in that case, I have to check whether there is any greatest common divisor for at least these two numbers. Yes, it is, because 13, because this one is a multiple of 13 and this one is 13. So 13 is the greatest common divisor for these two numbers. So now we can divide it by 13. And we know that 1 is not divisible by 13, so we can write this one as it is. Okay, when I divide this 14 times 13 by this number 13, what will happen? So this 13 will cancel out. The result is 14. Let me write it over here. And when I divide this 13 by 13, I'm just getting 1. Now I have to check whether there is any greatest common divisor for all these three numbers other than 1. It's not possible, because out of these three numbers, two numbers are 1. So even for at least two numbers, there is no greatest common divisor other than 1. So in that case, we have to stop the process. So I have to write the least common multiple. So to get the least common multiple, what we have to do is we have to multiply this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. That is 12 factorial times 13 times 1 times 14 times 1. Okay, first let's multiply these three values, 1, 14 and 1. So when I multiply these three values, I'm getting 14. Let me write that first. Then I write 13. At last, I'm writing 12 factorial. Okay, so here 14 times 13 times 12 factorial means we have to reduce the 12 for the next consecutive integers up to 1. That is 12 times, 11 times, 10 times. It will keep going up to 1. Here we have the product of consecutive integers from 14 to 1. Actually, it is equal to 14 factorial. Okay, now I got the least common multiple of these three values, that is 14 factorial. I find this 14 factorial in answer choice D. The correct answer choice for this question is D.